course, being in this industry since 20 years, I knew Parmigiani from the outside as a very prestigious brand, a niche brand with a lot of competence. And I also had the chance to meet in person Michel Parmigiani, which is to me a source of knowledge that is infinite due to his background, due to his mindset, which is really independent, and due to the restoration work that he did in all his life in perpetuating mechanical art. So it's been a great immersion in a culture that is pure watchmaking culture. Now Michel, in his imprinting to the brand, gave not only the technical aspect and the knowledge, but also an important value, which is understatement. Understatement for me is extremely important in this brand because it addresses a clientele which has a taste of refinement but also is not ostentatious. And being an understated brand, being a brand extremely elegant and refined, we started to make choices. What does a client like this want? Why is he carrying a watch like Parmigiani Fleurier? And it's very important question, this one. And the choices that we made, I define it like a rich minimalism. It's a style that is very pure, very simple in the choices of design that have to be immediately understood, but the making of an object like this is almost sartorial. So you have an attention to details on the dials, on the guillochage, on the case finishings, on the movement finishings, on the choices that you do that are extremely expensive to produce. But that doesn't matter because it's the content in which that you put in a watch which is giving you the emotion. And the emotion that we want to give is like to wear an essential that you keep forever, like your blazer that you have in your wardrobe that you would never separate yourself from because it's perfect. It's ambitious, and this is the vision that we have. Of course, in watchmaking, the innovation has to also pass from the technical side, but this takes time. In the meantime, we are presenting this year in Geneva the new Tonda PF collection, which is complementing the Tonda line, which is the backbone of the assortment. And we really want this to become recognizable and defining the style of Parmigiani Fleurier for the future. On the Tonda PF collection, I would choose to start from the Tonda PF Micro-Rotor, which is the most pure interpretation of the style that I was telling to you before. The choice is to, first of all, have a style which is extremely pure, and we chose not to write the Parmigiani Fleurier logo on the dial, but to use the seal that was initially born for a technical reason, like a hallmark for the gold cases, that was already done in a creative way, in a graphic way. I think automotive showed already the way in using the logos of the brands to do something nice from an aesthetic point of view. And on the dial here, view that we are talking to clients who are insider clients. They don't need to be ostentatious, so it's more than enough to have the reference to the brand. And then the choices are to open up this dial at the maximum possible with these small indexes that are around the guillochage, which is extremely tiny because the size of the guillochage makes it, the more smaller you do it, the more contemporary the feeling is. We wanted really to have a texture, not something that is in your face every time you read the watch. The time, but at the end it gives a level of sophistication, this sartorial approach to the timepiece. And then the details of the watch go on the case with the fact that you have details of brushed and finishings that outline the design of the watch. And all the technical side of the watches are to be comfortable. The watch has to stay on the wrist in a way that you don't even feel it. And this is extraordinary in the ergonomicity of what we have achieved. It continues with the chronograph, which is an integrated chronograph with a Connell wheel in high frequency that we chose a different dial color, blue with the tone of gray inside. Like before, the gray was with a tone of brown to make it more warm. Here you have a sense of elegance and refinement which is superior of a simple navy blue. And it's important because it's not an obvious choice. And then another hallmark of the brand is the annual calendar that we completely revisited in the way to showcase the time, because you have an outside retrograde date that opens up the dial and makes it much more contemporary in its execution. And then last, but definitely not least, it's the pinnacle of our expertise. This is the anniversary of the 25th anniversary of the company that is this year. And it's a chronograph rattrapante with a monopoussoir on the crown, completely in platinum, 25 pieces. Even the dial is on platinum, just with this micro sandblasted effect where the beads are so small you don't even see them, to have this finishing which is very white, but it's just the platinum that is doing this color. And then this watch needs to be seen from the back because it's a solid gold manually winded rattrapante chronograph, full gold in the platine, in the way it's finishing. You even have the signature of Michel Parmigiani himself on these movements. The bracelet has been streamlined in a way that is extremely simple. You have a very simple design, but it's become extremely ergonomic because we wanted a complete flexibility of the bracelet. This bracelet goes in every direction in terms of flexibility, and it can follow your skin, your wrist, in a way that is always perfect. And we added a small detail, which in my opinion is a nice touch, to have the PF logo also on the closing, which has this micro-billet effect with the polished logo on the seal on the closing. The case also has important details because the lugs are polished and the carrier is brushed, and the polish goes all around the lug. This is just an outline. It's not necessary, but it's a sophistication on top of the usual way of doing a case. That means that the 4 lugs are produced separately from the case in order to have this finishing. These are all these sartorial elements that we are looking in to have details which are not obvious and that are able to satisfy a clientele which is extremely exigent, as well as the choice of doing a platinum bezel, because why platinum steel? You almost don't recognize it. You do if you have an eye to appreciate it. The platinum is whiter. The platinum, when you polish it by hand, takes out that industrial aspect that the steel has, because the steel is much harder, so it becomes an artisanal finishing that you have on your luxury timepiece. So these are all a summa of details that are not in your face, that are really subtle. You have to know about it, you have to appreciate them, you have to have the sensibility to find them interesting. And it's not for everyone, it's for those who are into this kind of refinement.